And it's official. Writers, studios, fans are bracing for a possible writers' strike. The union representing TV and movie writers says more than 9,000 of its 11,000 members have approved a strike authorization with 98% of that vote. So that gives the WGA leaders the right to call for a walkout when their contract with the major Hollywood studios runs out on May 1st.
Now the question becomes, will they or won't they? We've seen this before, right? Jean Maddaus from Variety joining us now live. And Jean, this was both a record vote turnout when you look at the numbers and a resounding decision. Does this make a walkout inevitable at this point?
No, they did the same thing in 2017, and 96% voted for a strike authorization then, and then they reached a settlement. So it doesn't mean there's definitely going to be a strike. It just means they have the power to call a strike if they don't get a deal in the next 2 weeks.
Well, you just mentioned, so of course, this isn't the first WGA strike. Some parts of these demands are different. In addition to better pay, streaming residuals now, staffing, the use of artificial intelligence, all part of this conversation. Explain that for us.
Sure. So I think one of the most interesting proposals is that there is a request to sort of set a minimum number of writers per TV show. So the idea that one writer could write a whole TV show, they don't like that idea, and they want to say, no, you need a certain set number going forward. On residuals, there's been for a long time, on streaming, if you get a residual on streaming, it doesn't matter, whether 10 people view the show or 10 million people view the show, you get the same number, and people want some payment for successful shows that goes above and beyond that. So those are a couple things, but there's at least 6 or 8 issues that are sort of critical here. So there's a lot to sort out.
There's a lot to sort out. A lot of times this is usually just about pay. This go around is not just about pay, right, especially because of the streaming aspect of it. The other big point of contention, exclusivity. Writers looking for more flexibility during those hiatus periods that we've seen.
Yeah, that is a big issue, especially if you're talking about streaming shows, which, you watch a streaming show, it has maybe 8 episodes. Well, that's not the standard that people are used to from broadcast. It used to be 22, 23 episodes. So if you're only doing 8 episodes, maybe that's 4 months of work, maybe that's 5 months of work, then you have to go get another job in the other period. And you might not have the freedom to actually do that because some other show might be, well, aren't you going to go back to your first show? So that's been a big issue.
Okay, then what's next? In terms of the timeline, do we expect progress to come quickly? Could this week's negotiations drag on? What's going on?
The typical thing is that it goes down to the wire. So May 1st is the deadline. They'll probably still be negotiating on May 1st, and we might not know until after midnight. That's what happened in 2017. And then even then, they might not have a deal on May 2nd, and that doesn't mean a strike would happen immediately. It just means they have the power to call a strike, and they could still talk, May 3rd, 4th, 5th. So we don't know exactly when it would be if they do call a strike.
Well, I know a lot of people in this town watching this very closely because they remember 2007 and the strike that lasted 100 days. It reportedly cost the state's economy more than $2 billion once everything was added up. We're talking about 11,000 people here. If these writers do strike again, if we get to that point, I've been told you won't see an impact obviously immediately, but you will relatively quickly if you're a viewer.
So certainly the things that are written the same day they are broadcast are the things that would be, hit first. So, the late night shows obviously is sort of the first thing that would go off the air. Saturday Night Live, that kind of thing. Those writers would be on strike. It would, depending on how long it goes, it would then have an impact on stuff that has a longer lead time. So if it goes on for months and months, then it really starts to impact, everything else.
I know the upfronts are happening now for next season. People, get excited about that next season. So watching this very, very closely. Thanks so much for joining us this morning, Jean. We appreciate it.
Happy to do it.